Welcome to Chamber Talk, podcast where we dive into the experiences and insights of leaders who are making a real impact in our community. I'm your host, Andrew Gregson, and today we are joined by Scott Doe, District Director of the Office of Senator Josh Newman. The Senator currently represents a Senate District of 29, and Senator Newman is also running for re-election in November for the 37th District as the redistricting happened earlier this year. Is that right?
Yeah, 2021.
2021, okay. So it wasn't this year, it was 2021.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, I appreciate it. See, that's why we've got you on the show, because we know what you know what you're doing. Which includes the cities of Tustin, Irvine, Costa Mesa, Laguna Niguel, and, of course, the Chamber's hometown of Fullerton. Scott, thanks for coming on today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
So just a little bit of a backdate here. Obviously, Scott has been a representative for quite a few years for the Senator's office. And as I mentioned earlier, now he's the district director. So why don't you start with sharing a little bit about your journey of, from when you went from Savannah High School in Anaheim to becoming the district director for Senator Josh Newman's office?
Yeah, that's impressive that you got my high school down and everything. But Andrew, thank you for having me here. It's an honor to be on the podcast. I watched a few, but my journey started off in high school, and I was part of the Key Club, for a short time. So volunteer service, community service, all that, that's kind of what I was doing in my free time. And it kind of made me feel important, right? Like I had a role in my community. And I think that kind of set off, the first domino of, wanting to be a public servant, wanting to help people. And then when I went to Cal State Fullerton to get a bachelor's degree in political science, I was introduced to a campaign for a senator that was elected in 2016, but he was getting recalled in 2018. So, and then that senator is Senator Josh Newman, who I work for right now. But he had a crucial vote, they say, on a bill called SB1, and that was to raise the gas tax and stuff like that. But there was a lot of misinformation behind that. And so I got onto that campaign as an intern during my college years. And then I worked, I met a lot of people, Congress members, other senators, assembly members, community members, some of my old teachers from high school. And there were so many people that were engaged on this campaign that I was able to reconnect with or connect with. And I kind of started growing my network from there. And from there, my fellow interns, they went on to do better things. Some went on to work for other campaigns. Some went on to work in, the assembly or the state senate or in Congress. Some went on to work for nonprofits. And I realized, like my network of people, even though it was such a small network at the time, I knew so many people that were doing great things.
Right.
Right. And I felt like I really felt motivated to kind of step up to the plate and do what I can to help my community, just like they are, just like they were doing.
Right.
And I think it kind of runs in my blood, right?
Okay.
So my grandparents, my grandfather on both sides, my mom and my dad's, they were both in the military, right?
Okay.
So I come from an immigrant family from Vietnam, and they had, history of medical service, right? One of my grandfathers was a doctor, and then military service, right? Both in the Army, in the Navy. And, growing up, they would always take me around, go out to eat. And, from day to day with them, they would do some weird things that I didn't know was not normal, right? Until, I met other people and started going out with other people. But, they were very involved with the veterans, right?
Okay.
In our area. So in Orange County, my grandfather, who was in the Navy, he would always go out and he would see a homeless person, a homeless vet. He'd go and help them.
Right.
Sometimes that's offering them a place to live.
Sure.
Sometimes that's getting them a wheelchair. Sometimes that's helping them get to, a DMV appointment or what have you.
Right.
Or getting resources. And so, in a way, they both served their communities.
Sure.
Yeah. And then, you go even further than that, my great grandpa on my dad's side, he was the governor of this island off the coast of Vietnam that my dad's family's from. So, in governance, my family's had a great role in kind of like taking care of this community of islanders, right, back in at the homeland. So service, I think, runs in my blood, right? And I felt that connection to it very early on. So through the campaign, met a lot of connections, right? And then after the center got recalled in 2018, I went back to college, right? I went to go finish my degree.
Sure.
Right? So I put all my effort, all my time and energy into that. But while I was doing that, I went to work in construction, right? So I worked with a bunch of older folks that had a bunch of experience. Some of them had master's degrees, some of them have been journeymen for a long time. Some of them, came from different places, right? One guy used to work in telecommunications. One guy used to do media. You know what I mean? One guy just
a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, one was a mechanic. There was just so much knowledge and so much experience that they're able to pass on to me. And I realized, like, everyone has a role, right? And everyone needs help, right? Some of those people came because they lost their job, right? They needed something to do, put bread on the table. Some of those people, they made a career switch, right? Some of those people faced hardships, right? They went homeless a few times. And so, I thought, who's really looking out for these people, right? There's not that many people looking out for people like that, right? And I come from a family with, not a lot of means, and so I kind of understand. I understand what it's like to lose your home, right? I understand what it's like to struggle, right? I understand what it's like to not be able to play sports in school because you can't afford it, right? I grew up during the recession, so the value of a dollar, I learned what that was very quick, right? And so, I did what I can to help save money and help my mom out and do whatever. And so part of me doing this construction thing was to help family out, help my mom, single mother, 3 kids. I want to do the best I can, pay rent, help. And so after that, learn all that, I took those experiences with me. And through my network that I kind of pieced together,
there, right?
I got into Senator Newman's 2020 campaign. Yeah. So I actually was deputy volunteer coordinator. Okay. So that was my first official role. That was my first real job in politics.
Okay. And that was to help the campaign.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I was in charge of the internship program, signage, right? Getting signs built and put out into the streets. I was in charge of managing our database of names and people, and I had a hand in doing some of the voter outreach, right, like targeting, things like that. Right. And then pretty soon after getting into that role, starting to learn it, the person that was supposed to mentor me, she left. Oh wow! Yeah, she left. She's like, "All right, I'm out. I got a better job." So okay, so what do I do now? So I look at we're at the staff meeting. I look at the senator, and he's like, "Well, Scott, you got a lot on your plate now. Can you do it?" I was like, I'm young, right? So I don't want them to think I can't or I'm not capable of doing anything. Sure. Yes, I can do it, right? So I did the job with 2 people. Wow. Yeah, 2 people. I managed a lot of our field operations. So we did coasters, right? Coasters at people's cars. We did door hangers. We did flyers. We did a bunch of community events, right? Zoom with, council member Fred John, where at the time, I guess he was a candidate for city council.
Is this before he had his ice cream bar?
This was all during, right? So we had the ice cream van and we were running it every single day. That thing was at a park, at a community center, at a city hall. That ice cream truck was at something every single day. The pandemic comes around, right, and it shuts everything down. Sure. Yeah. So we had to adjust our approach. We had to get the ice cream truck to as many things as we could, given we don't want anyone to get sick, right? Sure. But the work had to be done because that's what we wanted. We wanted to get into the Senate so we could actually do things, right? So we could actually help people, right? And so did all that at a time, managed various different field outreach things, right? Including, going out door to door, stuff like that, phone calls, whatever. Sure. We ran a great campaign. Right. Yeah.
Well, clearly, he got in, right? So well done. Good job.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And we won, right? And so
you forgot that bit.
We won. And that was the first step, right? The first step was we got to get back.
Sure.
Right. So after getting back, We had to set up a new office, right? We didn't have anything from the previous office, right? Because, the whole political tension that, present. We had to rebuild everything basically from scratch, right? And there was a whole lot of constituents who needed help via, through casework that weren't getting help, right? And, we had a list of maybe more than 50 people, right, who needed help, never got help. And it was passed on to us.
Different fundings and things, is that what you're talking about through COVID and things like that?
Yeah, some was that, right? Some was like COVID, or no, I guess this was before that.
Okay.
So a lot of that was like help with DMV, help with state agencies of some sort, EDD, unemployment, maybe they're unemployed.
I suppose a lot of people don't realize that people do reach out to the senator's office for all sorts of things, don't they?
Oh, yeah. I mean, for a lot of things, right? They think we could do everything, right? Which we can't, but we try our best still to get them to the right people. So that's kind of like one of the big things of our job is we're a network.
Yes.
Yeah, we're a network of people who have all these different people in our Rolodex, and we get people to those people. We are kind of like the middleman.
Yeah.
It's
very similar to what the chamber does.
Yeah. That's why we're a member, because we understand.
Thank you.
Yeah, we understand. But yeah, anyways, long story short, got into the campaign, then we transitioned to the Senate, and then for the 3 years after that, it was me being a field rep, learning and making connections and helping people. And then now I'm district director. So in my current role, what I do is I help organize and coordinate all the things that happen in the district for our district office. So that means getting the right staffers out to certain events, getting people the help that they need, referring people to the right people on my team who can help for certain things, making decisions like, oh, we're going to sign on to this resolution. We're going to go to this event. We're going to have this meeting. We're going to elevate this to the senator or elevate this to the legislative team. And then we're going to, make sure that we take care of the senator when he's down here and go into the events. We staff him, brief him, all sorts of things.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm in charge of doing all that, just keeping the district office operational.
Right.
Yeah. And accessible to, our constituents.
So there's a couple of things that I want to touch on that you just actually literally touched on yourself. So the first one is quite early on, you mentioned about how you had experienced so many different things yourself as a younger individual.
Yeah.
Learned a lot from your grandparents and from your family. And one of the things that I think people miss out on is they always just look at individuals and think, oh, what would you know? You're too young, you don't know enough. But a lot of it comes from people who are experienced. Mm-hmm. How would you say your life experiences so far and the things you've actually seen in your life happen, how do they sort of relate into your current world? Because you're in a world where lots of people come at you with lots of different things, but obviously you've learned quite a lot. So does it make you more empathetic? Is it, do you have more of a, let's go out, charge and do it? What does it do for you?
Yeah, it definitely does make me more empathetic. I think perspective is the greatest tool that you have as, a legislative worker, right? Because you start to understand, why people come to you, some of the different headspaces that these people have coming to you, right? And sometimes if someone comes to you, they've probably exhausted all their other options, right? And they're desperate.
They've finally picked up the courage to call your office.
Yeah, or just learned about us, right? At the end of their journey. We try our best to understand everybody and to try to be helpful to everybody. And that includes, being transparent with people, right? People call our office all the time and it's like, oh, well, can you do this? It's like, oh, well, no, we can't. It's like, why not? This other office did it. It's like, well, it's hard to say. They're not being very honest with you. But, even though you're not one of our constituents, I think you deserve at least an explanation.
Right.
Of what is actually happening, our process, right? So, I try to be as transparent as possible with people, letting them know, like, this is what we're going to do, right? This is what we're going to do. I'm going to reach out to this person, right? We're going to be able to get you this type of help, right? And that's really all we can do, right? Because then you venture into like something we can't do, like legal advice, giving legal advice, legal services, or maybe it's something outside of our purview, like, or our jurisdiction, right? As being a state office, sometimes it's a county issue. Sometimes it's a
city issue, whatever. Right.
Yeah. So we try our best, right? And part of that is, we try to be as accessible as possible. Yeah. So, so many people got my phone number out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the job, right?
Yeah.
It's 24/7. Can't turn it off.
So one of the things that I noticed, because we first met when I came working for the chamber about 3 years ago, and you were a very busy representative. Like you attended nearly anything we did, and that's just us. And you've got a big area, so you attended lots of things. Can you share with our listeners a little bit about what it entails? Like, it's not an easy job. You make it look easy, and there are a lot of different representatives, different offices out there. But you want to share a little bit about what that job entails and what you really have to do.
Oh, wow, Andrew. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's all of it is behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Right. So you think anything that a legislative office does, events, sponsorships, partnerships, programs, internship programs, high school internship programs, all that stuff, that's all run by our, a legislator's team, right? And then when you look up in Sacramento, you think about all the legislation that a senator or assembly member passes, writes, co-authors, whatever. That's all done through the team, right? So we elect this one person, and this one person has to do their best to assemble a team that kind of shares the same vision, that wants the same thing, and can carry out kind of what the member, what we call them, the member wants to happen, and how they want to legislate, and how they want to be, what type of representative they want to be.
So you become an extension of that representative in order to keep the word going out and sharing it.
Yeah.
Right?
So if you don't pick the right people to be on your team, then
you go wrong for you, couldn't it?
Yeah. Then you get bad legislative offices, right? And then you get bad caseworkers, and you get bad staffers, right? That don't care. And so, when we bring people onto our team, like, we go through a very rigorous process of like, okay, how do we figure out if they care? Mm-hmm. How do we figure out if they're willing to do the work? What do they know? How can we utilize that to help our constituents? Sometimes, because employment is this really tricky thing, but like sometimes, like you have people that come in our office that only speak Spanish. Or only speak Vietnamese or Korean.
Right, of course.
How do we communicate with those people, right? We got to get people that are bilingual, trilingual, whatever, right? That can speak multiple languages to have those conversations.
Sure.
Right. So we get those people their services. So, being a field rep and then being a district director, it's really that, right? Like you are a person that should know all these things, right? And then you're constantly learning, right?
Yes.
Getting new tools and putting in your arsenal. And when you talk to people and they tell you your problems, you try your best to help solve their problem.
Right.
Right. So that can mean, okay, I know this guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
let me connect you guys. Or, okay, you have this problem. Let me do this. Let me do that. Or this is a county issue. I know the people at the supervisor's office. That's what we do. Right. So that's part of it. And then representing and being kind of an extension of our members is also part of it. So what comes with that is, we could be at meetings, right, with stakeholders, with constituents, and take those meetings for the senator,
right,
or for the assembly member, and then we take all that stuff and we set it up, right? We're
so
these.
I'm assuming you're having to write all this up afterwards, and then and brief the member.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, like to be a field rep or to work at a district office for a legislator, you have to be competent in your writing abilities and in your communication abilities.
Sure.
And a lot of it is those soft skills, right? Like, can you talk to people? Can you sit across the table with somebody?
Ask the right questions.
Ask the right questions, right? And be personable, right?
Yeah.
And be accessible. Make people feel comfortable,
right,
telling you whatever they need to tell you, right? Because that's the first time that people do it.
So in a way, you do play quite an important role within the legislation part of it, because what you report back from or to could actually change possibly somebody's idea or what they're looking at a current bill that they're looking to push through.
Yeah.
Your information could actually dictate something else. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
And, it happens.
Right.
Yeah, it could happen that way. And that's what we're trying to prevent, especially when you the red tape of government, right? You got all these levels. You got to send it up to the chain of command. In our office, it works a little bit different. We could go straight to the senator,
sure,
for a lot of things, but not every office is like that.
Right.
So we got to figure that out.
Manages differently, don't they?
Yeah. So we got to figure that out. It's like telephone, right? We got to make sure we get the message across as accurate as possible. And that's the game. Yeah. So that, and then, helping people with resources, with state agencies and stuff like that, or even county agencies, because we know the connection.
Because you know them all. Right.
So that's what we do.
So Scott, you just briefly mentioned about, work and career and how difficult it is. And I've often asked this question, but I've never really had the correct answer. And maybe you're not allowed to say, I don't know. But so if a member doesn't get reelected, what happens to the staff?
They go.
So you're just unemployed.
Yeah. That's what happens. Yeah,
it's risky, isn't it, if you think about it?
Yeah, terms are a real thing, and term limits are also a very real thing in our world, right? I think there's a system in place through networking and stuff like that, where you could kind of relocate to different offices and stuff, although it's not guaranteed, right?
Because you've been working with one person, it might not gel, like you're saying. I mean, there's a little bit more to it, isn't there?
Yeah, so to a degree, there's something in place. It's very informal, though,
right?
But yeah, that really depends on your network, right, and how well you, like you said, get gel with people. But really, and to be frank with you, we just got to go somewhere else. We just got to find something else. Yeah, we're just unemployed. Yeah, there's nothing else. There's no safety.
No. It's like, you can't guarantee I'll be here for the next 10 years. Well, maybe, right. So where do you see, obviously, recently you become the executive director of the senator's offices there, but where do you see your career going? What do you see? Oh no, I'm going to end up working all the way up to Washington, or do you think, what, maybe one day I'm going to become a government official? I mean, what do you see in your life?
That's a good question. I'm a public servant, I believe, through and through, right? And I think, my family, bunch of public servants, right? Long line of public servants.
You going to run for council one day?
I don't know if I want to run. I think my thing right now is, the senator has given me a platform to kind of represent very well, or to the best of my ability, the communities that I care about, right? Sure. And I grew up here in Fullerton, in Anaheim, and those people that I've met along the way, they all have something special about them. They all have a role, and for me, being a kid that, I was on food stamps, I was on WIC and all that stuff, single mom, right? All these programs that kind of helped me survive with my mom. I want to make sure that everyone have the same level of resources. Right. Because everyone deserves to live, right? Everyone deserves some help, and I want to be able to give it to them if I can, right? So I'm here. I think that's what I plan to do, is in some capacity, if it's here with Senator Newman, or at this county level or wherever, I want to be in a position where I can help people.
Right.
I think that's really what I care about. And, one day, maybe, after, some more personal and professional growth, I might run. I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, that's the making of somebody who's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Somebody whose intentions to make things better for everyone in and around that community. I suppose that's the type of leadership we're all looking for out of people, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't know.
That's funny. So what would you say one of your largest challenges are that you face, daily, weekly, whatever?
I think the biggest challenge that we face as a district office is, the constituents that we get that come in, right? Oftentimes people come to us when they're very desperate, right? And they're already jaded, right, by the whole political system, by, I don't know, how they were treated at a different agency. Maybe they're a vet, right? And they didn't have a good time with the VA, right? And then we have to deal with these type of people, right?
Right.
And going back to kind of like all my other experiences working with people, is like you never know where people are at mentally, right?
That's true.
You never know.
Right. Yeah.
And what they've gone through, right?
Yeah,
and so knowing that, I try to be understanding, right? I try to understand these people to the best of my ability, where they're from. If they're a little short with me, if they're a little angry, like, I try not to take that personally.
Sure.
Right. And I try my best to help them. I try to be kind. Right. And I follow up. I'm transparent with them. I try to get them or instill back into them that trust in governance, that trust in, elected officials, all that stuff, as much as I can.
Right.
Right. And that's the hardest part, right?
Yeah.
When you're trying to help somebody, they're just yelling at you.
Sure.
Right. Because they had this problem, they had that problem, they're not moving fast enough. Unfortunately, that's kind of the nature of state government, right? It works really slow, all the red tape, all that stuff. But we're here to make it as bearable as possible, right?
So being part of the chamber, and you're right, when I first met the senator, one of the first things he did is say, we need to be a member of the chamber. So I appreciate your membership. Thank you very much.
Of course, proud members.
What would you say is, what do you often find yourself doing on behalf of the business community? Because obviously, we do serve the business community quite heavily. What would you say is some of the factors that you, the office, or what have you, do towards that?
Yeah, well, a lot of the operations of a district office is the same as what a chamber does, right? Where we are a network of people, right? We have these resources. We try to help our constituents just the same way as a chamber tries to help their members. And being members of the North OC Chamber, I mean, we understand that value, and so we try to help you guys, do whatever you guys can, right? You guys could call us up if you need something. We'll make it happen, right? And we prioritize that. So not only do we do that, we try to partner with small businesses,
sure.
right? Madera, we try to partner with them as much as possible, so we could host events there, bring in business, and let people know that this is a resource that they can also use, right?
Yeah.
This venue,
right,
for their events.
Yeah, they've got a good venue space, I must admit.
Yeah.
And of course, for you, they're right next door, so that's even better.
Yeah, right next door. But, and we also try to work with, big companies too. So like 99 Ranch,
right.
Every year we do our signature event, right? The Mid-Autumn Festival, which is like a cultural festival that we try to do. We always partner with, a grocery store or what have you, get a bunch of snacks from them, right? And then we try to give them that recognition. Like,
sure.
These are snacks from the 99 Ranch, right? We also try to work with local bakeries to get mooncakes so that we pass out free. You know what I mean? We have partnerships with Vaughn's to get ice cream and do all these things, right? We understand the need for small business, the need for business,
right,
in general. And so we try to work at all levels, to form those partnerships to get resources, to get things, goods, whatever out to the people, and so, partnerships is just one of those things. What else do? We do a lot of roundtables, right? So not the North Orange County Chamber, but the Chino Valley Chamber. We've done a roundtable with business owners. We've worked with the San Gabriel Economic Partnership to do mixers and stuff like that, where we meet people. Right, we meet these CEOs, we meet these ambassadors, we meet all these people that work for companies, right? And we listen to what they need, right? And we.
I thought that was what I was just about to ask you. Is things like when we do the government affairs mixer, and we have all these high-profile type companies come in and talk to all the politicians and whatever. Is that how is that helpful for you? Or roundtables, even, how is that helpful for your staff and of course the senator?
It's very helpful. The one thing that, legislative offices don't get enough is contact, right? Communication between the people that they represent,
sure.
And then how we translate that and bring that up to the Capitol and legislate, right?
Sure.
So like, if we could open more, lanes on the highway, so to speak, for information to flow freely up and down the lanes, we could be more, we could pass more meaningful laws, right? We could have better policy,
sure.
And then that's what's important. So when we talk, like in a mixer, right, or at a roundtable, and we learn about things that are happening with the business community, we could use that insight, and that will influence how we kind of look at the next year, right? The bill package that we present,
sure.
that year, or in 2 or 3 years, right? I mean, it really all depends on what's going on in the world and priorities that are kind of given to you through, like the committees that you're given and stuff like that. So, one of the big things is like education. So we've been big in the education space lately. So, there's a lot of factors to it.
So basically, listeners, when the chamber hosts these events, and you're like, I don't think I'm going to go, and we've got the senator or assemblywoman or any Congress coming, you should go.
You should go.
You should go.
Because
it does make a difference, doesn't it?
It makes a great difference, and it leaves a good impression on the legislators too, to want to do these things again. Right. So, my boss, at least, he's had a great experience at your guys' thing. And so he was on the panel. He got asked a bunch of questions. He was able to be with his colleagues, right, up on the
stage there, the platform, right?
And then he was asked good questions, and then it made him question things like, okay, why don't we do something like this? Sure. Or why is the policy like this, right? And then he brings that up to his staff. The staff do the work, and then we try to figure it out, right? And can we fix this? Yes. Then we go on, right? With the process. No. Okay. Why not? Why can't we fix it?
Yeah.
Okay. Then, a lot more problem solving and stuff. But it's a tool, right? It's a tool for normal people, just like you and me, to like help change lives of their neighbors, right? Within their community.
So I wanted to, those are good points. So thank you for sharing all that. I wanted to sort of like touch a little bit of personal insights for you, because part of this podcast is learning the people behind the mic, so to speak, right? So you've worn quite a few different hats in your career. Obviously, you were a field staffer for many years. You're a handyman. You were talking about being in construction for a little while, all giving great experiences. Can you share with us a little bit of how you think that shaped you as an individual?
Yeah, I think, like I said, earlier in the podcast, like it's helped me have perspective, right? I think there's this story, or there's this thing that the senator told me a long time ago, and it's kind of stuck since. But he told me once, right? I was making certificates, because that's one of the things that we do is make certificates.
It's a big thing. I see.
It's a huge thing, right. So we sent it up in our office. We sent it up to the senator, right? And I've questioned that, like, Senator, you have better things to do. Right. Like, why are you wasting all this time or spending all this time, editing our certs, signing them personally, all those things? Like, we could do that. You know what I mean? And he told me this story, right? He said, when you give a certificate to somebody, you make maybe 50 a week, right? Hundreds every month. Right. For you, it's just another cert. Right. But for that one person, that might be the only cert they ever get in their whole life. Right. So sometimes they get it early in their life, right? In high school. Sometimes they get it at the end of their life, when they're 70 or in their 80s. Make it count. That's why I do that. Yeah. So since starting our office, he had every letter of support, almost every correspondence, every certificate, he edits personally himself, because he wants to give that extra touch. Sure. And when he can, he'll sign himself. So whenever he can, make it, just a little bit extra special. That's why our certs have so much content, right? Sure. Like, they're so long. It's because he believes that, right? Yeah. He wants to make it special for everybody.
And you're 100% right. It really is special. Yeah. And that's why since I've been at the chamber, we love all our representatives, because they really do come out, and it's all for all of I think are the same. Yeah. They spend the time doing the certificate, coming out. That was the next thing I was going to lead into in a couple of moments, but you've touched on it, is the time that you guys dedicate to what you say. You want to share a little bit about that? Because it's not you just come out there, shake hands, say, good luck, you're doing a great job. You guys usually 9 times out of 10, depending who it is, can have some really amazing things to say too. Yeah. Is you spend some time researching the business and talking about them as you're presenting the certificate.
Of course. I mean, that's our job, right? So the people that we try to have at our office as staff, I mean, we try to at least have them have a college degree, right? So that kind of that means they should have competencies in writing and research and all those type of skills.
Abilities, right. Yeah. Skills,
so when they go out and they do these ribbon cuttings, if you just go up, just like the cert thing, if you this is your 3rd or 5th grand opening, this is their first one. Yeah. Right. Yeah. This is a lifelong journey in the making, right? For a lot of these people,
it's history.
Make it count. Yeah. Yeah. It's history, right?
Yeah.
Make it count. So everyone on my team, they do their research, right? And then also like everyone on my team, they're from the district, right? Or just outside the district. They live in Orange County. They live in the San Gabriel Valley, or they live in San Bernardino County, right? They're from here. They grew up here. They know all these places, right? And if it's a franchise, right? They've been to this franchise before,
of course,
right? And I think that's kind of the benefit that we have is, we try to get homegrown people, right? People that actually care, people that actually want to do the work, right? That's why they're here. So that also helps my staff come out or me go out and go to the events and speak on the business, speak on the owner, speak on whoever, right? And that's important. Yeah, because it, just show up, give us here you go. Congratulations. That doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't really, no. It really, and to be honest with you, it does mean a lot to people because, we do a lot, right? You do a lot. And when you talk to the business owner or the business owners later, or even the staff, because sometimes the business owner isn't there, it's just the staff who are managing it. They often mention, one of the things they mention is the fact that they didn't realize they get so many certificates. They didn't realize that so many people would come out and say a few words. And if you think about it, it is a bit of a boost because, I think back the multiple times that I've started a business and we've had the chamber come out or, representatives come out and give you a certificate. I've still got them at home now. They're not in the dust. I've got them hanging up because what happened that day? That's what came out to do it. So we do appreciate you coming out. We do appreciate certainly that the senator signs all of them. So that's very kind. Out of the whole time you've been in the job right now, what one thing or a couple of things stand out to you that have been the most rewarding?
I think it's really at the end of the day, when you've helped somebody, you help them through all the steps of the process. It's that final day where you've helped them, right? And their gratitude, right? And then the relief that they feel, right? All that weight off their shoulders. I think that's the most gratifying experience that I've encountered working this job. It's just the feeling of being that difference for somebody, and that's what drives us,
right?
Because we don't make that much.
Sure.
Yeah. And we work 24/7. Really, we're on call most of the time. We got to work weekends after 5 p.m. whatever.
But anything could happen, and then you have to go out and be the ears and eyes, right?
Yeah. But we're all glad to do it, And I think that feeling, and I can speak for everyone in my office, that's what keeps us going. Yeah. So that is the best feeling, the most gratifying experience.
That's a very non-profit sort of feeling you get when you work in non-profit. There it is, though, isn't it? Because it's true. It's that you need pay to pay for the bills, and unfortunately, it's not enough. But it gets you through, right?
Yeah.
But the largest part is sitting back and seeing that you help that individual, like you say, or, for us, it's obviously connecting a business with another business, or maybe what we did helped them increase their foot flow traffic. So that meant they got through another month, or that's what it's all about. And you've been mentioning the whole time about how much your office is really all about connecting and helping. And that's the give back feeling, is that you've actually given something of yourself to help another. And I totally understand that reward. It's a very, very non-profit sort of feeling you get, whereas the private sector is not so much, it's a bit different.
I really, it all boils down to like my experience as a kid, right? I think there's so many things that are out there that helped me. Right. If I was part of this laptop program in junior high. It's called the 1-to-1. They don't do it anymore, but the 1-to-1 laptop program, you learn, and you had your own dedicated laptop, and you learned how to use those apps off the laptop, Word, Microsoft Excel, whatever. And then you that's kind of integrated into your learning experience, right? You learn these different competencies. It makes you a better worker, right? Once you're ready to join the workforce, something like that, I couldn't have never done, right? Because you have to buy the laptop, right? Or you have to pay and put a deposit so you could have a used laptop.
These apps, right?
Yeah,
the licenses.
Yeah. And so what happened was, in my junior high, there was actually this opportunity through a senior living facility to apply for a grant, right? To get some money so you could buy your laptop, so you can be in this program. And I did that, right? And you're supposed to write, why do you deserve this, right? Why do you want to do this, right? And they chose me to receive this money and I got to be in the program. It's things like that, right? That really are so important, but nobody really knows about those things. And that could help so many people, right? I want to be able to get that information to other people, right? Just like the chamber wants to get business opportunities. They want to connect other businesses to other business owners. We want to do the same thing.
Well, it's funny you mention that, because one of the programs that I wanted to start when we're back in our office after the fire is we want to start classes that integrate that, because from a couple of our staff members are quite young and they're still at college. And what we've found is that all this new education, they don't even know how to scan, or they don't know how to use Excel or Microsoft or anything else.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't even know if this is going to end up for the podcast, but what we want to do is I want to come to your office and the Assemblywoman's office and anybody else's office and see if we can find some local funding or grants, because we'd like to start these programs up for that workforce that's in between high school and probably finishing university, because those are skills that an employer immediately looks for. Like, you could come out with your bachelor's or even a master's, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that. But then when you go in the office, you can't really start at a higher level because you're unable to fill out the Excel table that everybody uses at the office, or everybody's using Microsoft Office Word and now you're used to using Google Docs, and it doesn't work the same. And so we want to bridge that gap, which is similar to what the program you did at school there, which is where we actually allow people to do that. And then the other part of that is helping them get a job, because by learning how to use all these tools, part of the class will get somebody to be able to write their resume, be able to create a presentation that they can present themselves so you can understand the workings out. So by the time you're finished, not only can you use all these different applications and you're a little bit more aware of what's going on in the regular workforce, but you've also got all the tools to try and get that particular job.
Yeah.
So that's actually what we've been thinking of doing for a long time. But because of the fire, we had to stop short on it. We didn't have anywhere that we could go and actually do these classes.
Yeah, because you guys are working so hard. Spark the fire.
Yeah, well, trying to, fix the place up now, make it look good. But anyway, so I'm glad you spoke about that, because actually that's something we've been really seriously thinking about.
I mean, that's a great idea. Yeah, and being able to implement it, that's the hardest part.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
But I mean, we're willing to work to see what we can do.
Yeah. No, I mean, and the thing is we've got some amazing resources in our area. I mean, the north of Tustin. Let's be fair. The north of Tustin is the north of Orange County.
Yeah.
And we've got some amazing resources throughout this whole county that we could do amazing things. And that's what I see the chamber about, is because we've got all these different people who are members who are experts in so many different fields. If we and that's what we try and do, is bring them all together and collaborate. If we could bring them all together, imagine what we could really do.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way I look at it. And you don't need to give up oozes of time, because there's so many. It's just a little bit of time, but that little bit of time would mean so much.
Yeah.
And that's the way I look at it. That's my goal, is to try and get that figured out.
Yeah. We'll figure something out.
Oh yeah, of course. We always do. Yeah,
out.
we will. So, moving on a little bit, I don't want to necessarily, we are in a very political aware time right now, because obviously elections are up in November. And I'm not going to be talking about the senator's campaign right now, because that's not your job. But what would you say to constituents out there? Like, there's a lot of frenzy, a lot of different information everywhere. Who knows what? What advice would you give people who are, really need to educate themselves on what's going on?
Yeah. Misinformation is a big thing right now in our society, especially with, the internet, social media, all sorts of stuff. And even from your own family members, right? People hear one thing and they believe it, right? They don't look into it. That's just kind of,
So where we are, isn't it?
For as great as the internet is, it's also a double-edged sword for us,
Yeah.
But I think my one advice And the one thing that you could do is not just listen to one news source.
Right.
Go to multiple different ones, right? And then you know, every news source is biased. You have to find that bias and you have to look at both sides.
Right.
Right. And then you also have a lot of great independent, locally owned, local newspapers out here in North Orange County that you could look towards for, you know, information.
Sure.
Right. I think the Voice of OC, that one's a nonprofit news outlet run by some great people.
Right.
And, you know, what they want to do is just make things more transparent for the constituents, right? Stories, news, whatever. They try the best that they can, just like every other news outlet. But research. I mean, we have phones in our pocket, right? Everyone has a phone that has internet. Do your research, right? Look it up. Look up the bias. Look up the other side or the other perspective. I think that's what's important, and then use that information to make the best vote you can. Now,
you know, because not everybody has the same level of understanding about as you're talking about. You know, if you were to research something, you know, how would you go about it? Like, obviously, yeah, broad spectrum, look on the internet, what have you. But is there certain areas that you go, oh, no, this is a good resource, or that, you know?
Yeah. So, you know, when you're looking at an elected official or a candidate that wants to run for, you know, school board or whatever, you have to know what you stand for first.
Okay.
Right. That's the most important thing. Right. So if you know that, if you know kind of where you stand on a lot of issues, you want to look for candidates that, you know, you're not going to find someone that's 100%.
Of course.
See the same way as
possible.
you.
Right.
But, you know, for the important things that you see as the most important, people that align with those values. You know, and cast your vote that way. So, you know, for me personally, you know, what I do is I always look at the website, right? I try to look at any controversy or any problem or any criticisms of, you know, they're a career politician or they've been in kind of this world for a while. You know, policies that they passed or programs that they've run, or, you know, just look into the history of this person to see what they're all about, right? Because, you know, you can't.
What bills have been passed in the past, things like that.
Yeah.
Right.
And if they haven't been a legislator, right? Like, what do they plan to do?
Sure.
Right. What is their career, right? What ties them to this world, right? What makes them different?
Right.
Right. So if you're voting for somebody, and, you know, they don't have any political experience. They've never been elected before. They've never worked in the legislature or in governance or whatever. Sure. But maybe they're a doctor, right? That might be able to tell you kind of some of the things that might make this person tick, right? They at least they care about people.
Right.
Right. They took the oath. They want to help people.
That's true.
That might be something that you could keep, you know, back of your head, right? As you look through all this other information about them, and then you can kind of base your opinion or your vote off that.
Right.
Really. But, you know, nothing's 100%. You know, you just have to do your best.
Right.
Yeah.
That's some good advice, actually. I never really thought of it that way, but you're right. It's, you know, you pass over candidates rather than, you know, the incumbents or what have you.
Yeah.
And that's a good point of view, is looking up the individual and seeing what their view on life is, or what's out there. Yeah, that makes sense. It's almost like policies instead of parties, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it should be like that.
Yeah, it should. I mean, it make it easier sometimes, but yeah. All right. So, Scott, we've talked a lot about your work and everything else you do, but what do you do for fun when you're not working, when you're not on the clock, even though you're on the clock all the time? What do you do?
That's a good question. I'm a car guy.
All right.
I love cars. So, you know, I watch F1, Formula D, all sorts of stuff. I've gone to SEMA, you know, the trade show in Vegas. I've gone to different car shows, you know, all throughout Southern California.
So modern cars or historical classic cars?
I like modern cars.
All right.
How I define modern cars is 80s onwards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You know, I think
well, you're moving into classics there now. You know, as we're moving forward into the years, and 80s is sort of a classic, isn't it?
I guess that's true, but like, you know, I love pop-up headlights, right? And I kind of love, you know, old Japanese sports cars, right?
Like the Toyota Supra, things like that.
Supra, yeah, you know, the Corolla AE86. I mean, there's so many things, you know, the Sylvia. I mean, you know, I was a kid and I played a lot of like Need for Speed and stuff as a kid.
Right.
So all these Japanese car legends, I love them all, right?
Yeah.
And then over time, my appreciation for cars, as a car guy has grown to, American Muscle, right? Like anything from like a Plymouth Roadrunner to, a modern Shelby GT 500 or something, right? Like I love cars, right? You can find me at the Peterson, right, in LA. That's what I do for fun. I'll drive on the weekends, cup of coffee, go drive to get a cup of coffee, do some errands, just drive around, take the long route,
Yeah.
That's what I do, like car shows, car meets sometimes. I don't know, it's random. You might find me somewhere out there.
I'm surprised we never bumped into each other, because that's what my life used to be when I first came to America, is doing all the classic car shows and things like that. Talking about cars then, you modern cars, you're more petrol, leaning towards petrol, or are you more an EV guy?
Oh man,
And this is not political, by the way. We're not talking about politics here.
Yeah, it's crazy. I love my gasoline powered cars, right? You go talk about trucks. I love my diesel, right?
Right.
But I don't know. You can't get the same charm that you can with the.
We can't go as far
with the gasoline powered, manual transmission car. You cannot get that same level of connection with the road, with your machine, than you can with.
You like sat in a couch now.
Yeah,
well, that's really what it is. I mean, if I was really to allow my car to drive how it was manufactured, I really wouldn't be driving very much.
No.
It would be doing most of it itself, especially in the freeway. Whereas, before you're feeling the road, you can feel that it bumps one way if you hit a bump over here, or you can, you can feel whether the engine's straining itself, where now it's just.
Life is short. Like enjoy yourself, right? I think that's the one thing a lot of car enthusiasts like to do, is just enjoy themselves, enjoy their machine, enjoy their nights out, their mornings going out to, Cars and Coffee or something, talk to other people that love the same thing. So like when I went to SEMA last, I think 2 years ago, I think they had like a whole exhibit of electric cars.
Right.
And it was cool.
Well, it's interesting to see like what's going on in the world, but it's not really. It doesn't like.
Yeah, it doesn't pull me like that. Yeah, when you see an old Ford GT out on the street, you're like, wow, I only seen that in the movie, right? And these things, like only collectors have these cars now, right? They're never on the road,
right.
And then you see like an old E30 M3 or something, right? Something from BMW. It's amazing to see it, and when you see it on the street, that person's an enthusiast,
sure,
right? So you go up to them, talk to them. It's a whole community, right? And I think that's why I like community, feeling like I'm a part of something, and car people, very welcoming people.
So do you think that's why it extends with why you have so much fun driving the Senator's ice cream truck then?
Oh no, that thing, I don't know. That thing is a little dangerous. We've done so much to modernize it and put more safety features into it.
Does it get like a mile a gallon or something? What does it have?
Maybe
it's
half
like
a mile.
Pantech
maybe half a mile. But you know what? We get bad MPG, but what we do got,
people love it when it pulls up.
It's huge. Right? It's like it's a full size food truck that we've converted. But bad MPG, but great miles per gallon.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good one. That's a good one.
I mean, you can't say no ice cream.
So do you have to do a special test to go and drive that thing, or is it just who's willing to get in it and drive it?
Whoever's willing. Yeah. Whoever is willing. I mean, it's difficult trying to find somebody to drive it. We've had some problems with that, but every now and then you'll find someone that's.
Well, they're not easy, are they? Because it's a box. You've got to be able to drive it. Like
and
you've got to maneuver. You got to park. You got to drive in regular traffic.
Yeah. Then thankfully we don't have to drive in LA. Right, in LA proper, because those streets are narrow and traffic, and that truck would not survive out there. No,
although maybe it would survive, because I mean it's big enough to hold its own out there.
Oh, maybe, it's not. No one is damaging that car.
Nobody's damaging it for sure. No, that's true. As we come towards a close of our podcast, we always ask this of all our guests. we give them an open mic time as if there's something they would like to share. Sometimes it might be advice to other people. Other times it might be just something they want to care about. So I want to give you that opportunity to share something, whether we touched on it or not.
Okay, I think I got a thing. Yeah, so right now we're in August. We're in late August. We do this thing every year called the Mid-Autumn Festival. So this year is going to be on September 15th, and it's a Sunday, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And it's going to be at Stanton Central Park.
Okay.
Right. And then what we do is we give away 1,000 free mooncakes.
Wow.
1,000 free paper lanterns, and thousands of snacks, prepackaged boba drinks. And we have a bunch of different community members that come out, booth, and do whatever. Then we have live performances from some local elementary school, a dual immersion elementary school in the area called D Mill Elementary School. And then we usually have like the lion dance, right? So a high school team, the Vietnamese Student Association from like a local high school will come out, do the lion dance for us. And it's a day of being with your family, getting free stuff, because everyone loves free stuff, and ice cream, and then being entertained, right? And then it's all tied to, this cultural event that, a lot of different Asian countries celebrate, the Mid-Autumn Festival or the Moon Festival. But we do it specifically in mind with the Vietnamese community, because, there's a sizable Vietnamese community in Stanton, right? And in adjacent areas like Westminster and Garden Grove and stuff. So, and I'm Vietnamese, and, this came from like a partnership with, a Vietnamese city councilwoman in Stanton, right? Alice Van. And we try our best to serve this often very underserved community.
Sure.
Yeah. So we do that every year. That's our biggest thing. And another thing I want to, before we go, talk about is, services.
Sure.
Our office, we're open 9 to 5, Monday through Wednesday, or Monday to Friday. And, we don't just respond during those times, right? After hours or whatever, call us, right? We want to help. If you have problems with the state agency, if you need help with, it doesn't even have to be a state agency, a county agency, problems with EDD, DMV, or, if you're a small business or a business looking for resources, we have so many connections, just like the chamber, right? So you can reach out to us. We'll connect you to, the Small Business Development Center of the Inland Empire in Orange County. We could connect you to the chamber. We connect you to whoever, right, has the resources to help you out. And, that's very valuable. And a lot of people don't know that we exist. So, just get the word out there. That's the one thing I wish people knew more of.
And how can people contact your office, Scott? Yeah,
they could call us. So the one caveat is we don't represent everybody.
Sure.
Right. So depending on who represents you in the state Senate or the state assembly or in Congress, depending on your issue, you could look it up. You could type your address into Google, find out who your representative is. Get that phone number and then call into the district office.
Okay.
Right. So if you live here in Fullerton, you could contact us or Senator Tom Umberg's office, and we will help you. If you live in, let's say, Stanton, you contact us, or I think Senator Janet Nguyen, and we'll help you. Right. And that's what we're here for. We're sitting at our offices waiting for people to come and call us and ask for help, because we're ready for it. That's what we want to do. Yeah. So call us. Even if you want to just call and complain, even though
it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Come and complain, because that discourse that you have and that open line of communication you have with our office or other legislative offices, you never know, right? I've had 16-year-old college students, right, get a meeting with me. I come out there, I meet them, and they tell me about this amazing bill idea. Right. And then we try to take it all the way through.
Sure.
Right. So even if you have, you just want to complain, if you have an idea for a bill that we could possibly do, or you have a problem that you think should be addressed, or if you have, a stance on certain bills or pieces of legislation or just general topics, let us know. Right. Because if we don't know, you're going to get a vote that you don't like. Right. So, we want to make it, a good experience for everybody. We're ready to help people.
And thank you for that, Scott. And when was that day together? You've got the party in the park there in Stanton?
In Stanton is going to be on September 15th.
September 15th. And where can people find out more about that?
So they call in our office.
Okay.
We are going to send an e-blast to all of our constituents. You could also, we're going to be on Vietnamese television, the newspaper, all sorts of things. But I think the best way and the most direct way is just to call into our office.
All right. And then after today, you'll send me the information and that we'll have it on our events calendar. So then people could find it on the Chamber website as well.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, that's cool. Well, I think that's a wrap for today, for today's episode of Chamber Talk. And a big thank you to our guest, Scott Doe. I really do appreciate you coming in today, and you do amazing work. I've worked with you now for 3 years almost, and I've seen you go from the field rep to now the executive director, which is amazing. And you do impactful work, both you and the Senator's office. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
If you've enjoyed this conversation and want to hear more of inspiring stories and business insights, be sure to visit chambertalk.podbean.com, where you can find all our episodes. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, stay connected and keep making a difference.